Hello everyone, my name is Philip. I am a filmmaker, and today I'm going to be analyzing the music from the Final Fantasy VII Remake. We're going to do a deep dive, and we're going to be explaining why I think the music of this game is genius. There's just so much here to unpack, there's so much to enjoy, and I'm going to go through this list of ideas that I've kind of realized when both first playing the game and then going back and listening to the full soundtrack after buying it. So it's going to be a deep dive. We're live on Twitch. So we're going to go through this list, covering everything from One Winged Angel, Sephiroth's theme, Tifa's theme, some of the new themes, and what that means for sort of Final Fantasy music going forward, for the future of Final Fantasy, and also what it means for the past, coming full circle. And I think this game is just, it is finally perfected, much like I said with the battle system, perfected all of the facets that every Final Fantasy before it brought to the table. So it's going to be a lot of fun. That being said, make sure to subscribe if you're new and check out my main channel. We have 140,000 subscribers. What is your favorite song from the Final Fantasy VII Remake? Let us know down in the comments. It is a culmination of all the music of every Final Fantasy game, and it has become, I think, the best example of combining all those different styles of both the various artists who have worked on the music throughout the games and those tones, those tone colors, those motifs. I think this is just the ultimate example of what Final Fantasy has been for us throughout the years and what it will become after this game.
Me?
I keep coughing. What's wrong with me? Geostigma. Yeah, I got Geostigma. Nobu actually had a really peculiar way of composing One Winged Angel. He made like these sort of like block chunks of compositions, and then he like made a puzzle almost. Okay, and then he like reconstructed it into the most optimized order. Yeah, see, look. See? He's got the measures all laid out. So I got about 20 or 30 different measures. Okay, it's a very peculiar way. And then look at this. Rearrange them to fit together well. Look at this. Isn't it great? Such a cool way to look at it. So, 2 to 4 measure pieces of music, rearranging them. Now, why am I showing you this? Why is this significant? Why am I saying this is genius? Okay, listen. Already, what's happening? What's happening right now? It dawned on me when I was playing the end. I said, oh my god. They rearranged the 4 to 8 measured blocks that he did. They've rearranged them. Listen. It plays with our memories and our emotions and stuff. It's more intense, and it's not only teasing us, we're waiting for that Sephiroth note, okay, but they went insane Galaxy Brain, and they went backwards to what Nobu did and rearranged it again. For a lot of reasons, it's thematic, I think, right? Because of what it means for the story, right? With what's happening with Sephiroth and everything, but then also like what... But listen, this is the end of One Winged Angel you're hearing right now. This is the end. That happens before the last vocal section. And look, there's like a key change and stuff. It's totally just throwing your expectations all over the place. They've rearranged the block pieces. There's a lot of feints in the new version. Exactly, that's a great way to put it, Judge. It's musical feints. They're literally playing with our expectations and our emotions. We want to hear the Sephiroth lyric. They won't give it to us. And you hear this is the end of the song. They just keep screwing with us and playing with it. And you have Sephiroth. Oh, it's so good. But what does it do? It makes you think like something's not right. What does Aerith say before? Just everything about him is wrong. And it's like even the song is all messed up and wrong. It's just so... Oh my god, it's so awesome. And this is one of the reasons why, to me, this soundtrack is just genius. I've thought up a wonderful gift for you. Shall I give you Ava codes? But incorrect parts of the song constantly being jumbled around and thrown at us. Yeah, we're 3 minutes in. So if I skip to 4 minutes, here we finally get the opening timpani destruction. That's all I can call it in this version. Timpani annihilation into your skull. Just... That's what's happening. This is what I'm picturing. Which is awesome, because that's the actual original version of One Winged Angel. Timpani annihilation. Destroy my skull, Nobu. Wow. They still don't give you the real song. They give us this. They give us the, those chosen by the planet. Reprise here. And then you're like, oh cool, it's going to be that. But it doesn't give it to you. You actually never get that middle section. And it just skips around. It replays the original chorus. You hear it? And then it goes back to the chorus. Right, so they do not give it. You just have to wonder how they're going to top this version. So that's what I'm thinking about, Judge. A lot of people said, oh, how are they going to top this version? And that's my rebuttal is, this is not even the real song. So they easily top it just by playing the original song, finally. you know, in the final battle. And I think it's going to be great. This style is important because what was I saying before, right? So to kind of revert to what we were talking about, that musical lineage building up through Final Fantasy 15. Why did I play Hellfire before? Do you feel this intensity? That's that Hellfire feel, man. It's this very Hollywood, very big orchestra Hollywood, you know, feel that we have never had until Final Fantasy 15. That's the first time we got that sort of just instrumentation that has such a fullness to it. And it's just a way of composing that is more filmic, as opposed to Nobu's work, which is fantastic. It's very intimate. It's usually very intimate. And then when it becomes big, it would usually become more rock-centric. So it was so cool to me in 15 to get songs like... Feel how big it is. It has this ferocity to it. But it's epic in nature. It's huge. What happened with this? Even though it's not the Shimamura style specifically, this huge cinematic feel was solidified in 15. 13 was great and it was huge, but it didn't quite have that. It had more of, when it went big, it felt more classical. This feels Hollywood. So anyways, back to the song. But yeah, why is this so genius? So this song, to me, it brings back full circle all of those feelings, the full evolution of Final Fantasy, much like I said with the battle systems. VII Remake is the final culmination. You know, the current, I should say, because it's going to get even better. It's not only the filmic Hollywood insanity, it's everything in between. We have the fun tracks, still we have the intimate tracks from the OG games, that feeling, because of that legacy that Nobu had, and of course they're reworking his themes. So it all comes together, which is just such a wonderful feeling. There was thought put into it. It wasn't just like, you know, Hamazu or whoever else just being like, okay, like this will be my fun, like magnum opus take on One Winged Angel. I'm going to change it up as I please. Like, no, they thematically decided for the story's sake how they're going to reconstruct this song. And it's just so awesome, man. Like, that's how much they care about us, you know? It wasn't just musical flex time. Let's do whatever we want. It was a calculated move. What I first noticed when listening to the game, there's a lot of similarity in tone, of course, just inadvertently, to the other Final Fantasy games. And this happens because of the artists who worked on it. Okay, so we have a laundry list of artists who worked on this soundtrack and are all completely amazing. But even beyond that, they're adapting older works. So there's a lot of cool things that happen here. And when I say connecting sort of the tone color of everything, we start here, of course, with the Prelude, which is the first arpeggio that plays in Final Fantasy 1, carries all the way through FF9, 10, every game this theme appears in. And it's just sort of the backbone, the spine of Final Fantasy. It sets that epic mood. It feels so adventurous. It feels so whimsical and beautiful. And it sets the tone. That's why I love the name. It's a prelude. Every time you start the game, it's like, I'm sitting down, I'm just getting settled in. And we're about to see something whimsical, something adventurous. It's going to take us on a journey here. And it you can feel yourself being transported to another place, to another mindset. That's why I always love the Prelude. So beautiful. It's victorious. It's rousing. There's so many feelings in that. It's going to carry through that tone of the original Final Fantasy. And that takes place with a lot of songs. Okay, so we'll skip through the soundtrack a little bit here. We're going to go through the whole thing. It retains that feeling of FF7, that old feel, that classic Nobuo Uematsu, who of course we can thank for Final Fantasy 1 through 9 completely, and most of 10 and others going forward. But this song right here, of course, victorious reunion. It brings you back. It's this victorious yet mysterious song, as I said in my original demo analysis, gets you ready for the adventure. So it's pulling on these memories. It's pulling back to the old feel of Final Fantasy, since it was solely Nobuo Uematsu's work that took us through those memories, right? So then we're going through still. We have the classics here. We have, of course, opening bombing mission. And that's why I always love the Prelude, because Final Fantasy is one connected universe of all these connected worlds. And though the characters are different, though the worlds, quote unquote, are different, the planets, if you will, it's the same feel, it's the same theme. What I love is, of course, the Prelude, and the main theme of Final Fantasy is the constant that just runs through all of the worlds of Final Fantasy, and it brings you back in. It's very beautiful. It's bringing you back through time, through those times when you were young, and sort of feeling this music before you knew what it meant. Right, when we first heard these songs, for me, I was, a 4-year-old These old songs, all right, are registered in sort of their own category on the soundtrack. What happened after Final Fantasy IX? Final Fantasy X happens. And Nobuo then had Masashi Hamauzu and Yunya Nakano help him do the soundtrack together. Okay, this is the first time we have three different composers working with Nobuo, which is awesome. And it just makes this sort of rich sound to Final Fantasy X that's very different. One of my favorite songs in FF10 is To Xanarkand, which you guys may know. It's a fantastic song. It's the main theme of that game. But what then you have is wonderful pieces like Sprouting, which is a reprise of Xanarkand by Nakano, right? So it's this great, different feel, totally different feel. Right here, you know the song, right? Xanarkand? Notice the difference, right? So this is the Yunya Nakano song, and you see, notice it has this very fun, adventurous, like sort of light levity to it, which is really nice. And this is why I'm bringing FF10 up, because this is the first time we had this. Other composers taking Nobu's work and sort of being able to play in their own playground with it, and to introduce their own styles. Feel how different this is. It still has a melancholic feel to it, but it's so playful. Of course, reinforces that melody as the main theme of the game. Very important. FF12, another great example. I'll pull that up. Hitoshi Sakimoto, the amazing composer who handles all the Ivalice projects, right? And you can hear right here. It's the classic Nobu's theme of Final Fantasy is in every game, but it suddenly has that little bit of extra feel of Ivalice. Just the way, the instrumentation, the way he plays with it, it feels like it's an Ivalice, you know, it just brings you back to a different sort of more medieval, notice the horns right there? It's just that, it's that Sakimoto feel. This, where we have these new composers carrying the mantle of Final Fantasy forward. 13, why is this an important one? Because it's Masashi Hamauzu who did Final Fantasy VII Remake. He worked on it with the boys. So, notice this feeling. How would you describe it? It's a little bit different. It's a little bit brighter. That's how I would describe Hamauzu's music. It's bright. The way he used the piano, I think it's more whimsical than the later PS1, early PS2 music. It has a joy to it. That's the only word I can think of, right? It has a joy to it. What song does this remind you of almost exactly is, of course, Infinity's End, which we'll get to on the soundtrack. Now, no matter what you felt about the story or the legacy of Final Fantasy 13, this musical language became a part of the library of Final Fantasy music, the archive, the feeling of Final Fantasy music for a whole new generation of fans. So then going forward, this is part of that language. Right? It keeps evolving. Final Fantasy 15. All right, which of course is Yoko Shimomura, which you'll note is not involved at all in the remake, but there's one thing I want to pull from this that is very important. It's because more of the feeling of this song. It's more about the arrangement than the actual melody. It has this just grand, intense fire to it, right? It really does just have this fire. It's raging intensity. And this is a feeling that you will find in many songs throughout the soundtrack, including One Winged Angel and others. Notice I mentioned that medieval, that rousing, that whimsical, adventurous feeling of the original Final Fantasy, perhaps 1 through 3 and then into 4. But then once you get to 5, I believe is the first time we have any instance of electronic music. There's some stuff going on there, but of course, as we get further into it, you know, 6 could be argued 2 with Dancing Mad, and then 7, Those Who Fight Further, right? This is the other narrative thread of Final Fantasy ancestral music. And this is, of course, once Uematsu pulls out his big guns and we start going into the progressive rock insanity. And it has this different mood, which is, if you had heard this in Final Fantasy 1, it would have been super weird, right? It would have been totally out of place. Like, what is this song? It doesn't feel like Final Fantasy. But, of course, by the time 7 comes around, it has that cyberpunk, that sort of cyber steam whatever punk feel, and it works.
And avocados.
Thank you, Guilty. Fire, this power, this rock influence, and it's so awesome. Okay, so then what did I mention earlier? Hamauzu's work on Final Fantasy 13 right here sounds exactly like Final Fantasy 13, but it's instantly recognizable to us. It's instantly recognizable to us to feel this the lineage. This is why I described the lineage of musicality. Like, we know this feeling of Final Fantasy 13, but it's Final Fantasy, right? It's not like, oh god, what's this? Like, it's so cool that the identity of Final Fantasy 7, because it came in the middle, right? It's Final Fantasy 1 is that old school feel. 7 is the first step of big change, right? 7 is after 6, which is still pretty classical. You know, it was more like steampunk 6. And then we have this expansion into cyberpunk and all this awesome stuff, right? This feeling was not a part of Final Fantasy during FF7's inception. Everyone should also listen to Alex Mokala analyze the game music. Yes, I really want to collaborate with Mokala. That guy's awesome. We got to do a video together. Alex, if you watch this, let's make a video. Bridging together this lineage of Final Fantasy. And it's so cool to see. And it was funny, when I was playing the game, at first it kind of struck me as strange. I was like, this is Final Fantasy 13 feel. But I'm in FF7. This is so cool. So this song is so evocative of those songs from 13, like Sulia Springs and all these other like beautiful atmospheric, very, I don't know what the word is, like ephemeral songs. Listen to this. Has that signature Hamauzu violin. It's a very specific feeling from Final Fantasy 13 only. Like, if you listen to, for instance, World of Final Fantasy or Unlimited Saga, like other amazing soundtracks by Hamauzu, it doesn't have this feeling. Like, yeah, you can tell it's him, but it doesn't have this very specific Final Fantasy, sort of Hamauzu's Final Fantasy interpretation, which is why I love it. So you get songs like this. It's just bridging all these different memories and feelings. It's so wonderful. Funk With Me, which is this sort of like new fun feel. It's completely original music, which brings in Suzuki's kind of like very modern electronic music. It's a mix of sort of like pop vibes, a little hip hop in there. It's very awesome. It's very catchy. You want to dance to it. Of course, perfect for the scene it was used in, right? This is the new ground that FF7 Remake is pushing, right? So we talked about the lineage constantly just paving the way and just as a tractor, just crushing everything in its path. And then FF7, after 15, pushes it even more. And with this feeling here, we've completely broken out into another echelon. In this case, it is different genres of music, but that's no different. That's no surprise for Final Fantasy, right? Because Nobu's always done that himself. There's so many crazy different amount of genres of music in the original Final Fantasy games. Smash and rip 'em. All right, I'm gonna put this poll on right now, and you guys answer what's your favorite out of these songs. No votes for Ignition Flame, which is breaking my heart. And the winner, no real surprise, is of course One Winged Angel. And then we have Infinity's End with the second vote, which doesn't surprise me either. Subconscious References. Now this one actually blew my mind. We were talking about it the other night, if you remember, and I was like, what is this melody? I know it, but I just don't know which song it is from Final Fantasy 7. So let's pull it up. And it of course is an Operation Save Aerith. Really cool piece here. Very underrated piece on the sound. Listen. You hear this? Who recognizes it? It's from The Birth of a God, original FF7 song. What a cool thing to include. Right here. Dun, 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 dun. You hear it? What a cool thing. It gives you this sort of language that's happening in your mind. You know, it's not so obvious. In that case, it's like I knew that melody from Final Fantasy 7, but on first play I was like, oh wait, is that? At first I thought it was I really thought it was the Battle Arena theme. One day when we finally hear Birth of a God, it becomes this thing we've already heard. If you're a new player, that language is already built into the game for you. Yeah, you have the leitmotifs for, you know, characters, which are most notable, like Tifa, you know, the main theme. It could be argued it's Cloud theme or Anxiety, of course, Sephiroth and Aerith, and the list goes on, Barrett. But then we forget there's so many like environmental themes, battle themes that are so recurring. They're, you know, showing such a respect to the source material, that lineage, and they're just drawing from that rich well, that glistening, glorious well of music, and just using it so beautifully. I remember one of the observations I had when first playing the game was like, man, Tifa's theme is like one of the most important themes in this game. It has so many iterations. Tifa's theme, so incredibly ingrained in the soundtrack. And, you know, here I remember making this joke when we were waiting for the game. It's like, oh man, you know, how do you think they're gonna do Tifa's theme? Like, what's gonna be the Tifa theme in this game? Because, you know, there's only gonna be one. I wonder what choice they make. God, were we wrong? You know, how foolish of us to think we wouldn't get like 20 versions of every song. You know, I remember making that joke on the stream too. Several examples here. I mean, we go just a few tracks later, guys. The Star of Seventh Heaven. Such a good song. It's this evocative of the original Tifa tone color here with the electric piano. So gorgeous, so nice. There's a Tifa battle theme when she says, like, it's my turn now in the train, which is not on the soundtrack. Very tragic. And then there's a Tifa tragic theme after chapter 12 with the plate and everything. It's just so much. It plays again, of course, when she grabs Cloud at the end. It's just like, don't mention the garden scenes, you know, the chapter 14 resolutions. Another, maybe my favorite version of Tifa's theme, also not on the soundtrack. Nobu always had the John Williams approach to the leitmotifs, but he never utilized them so in such a variety of ways. Right? There wasn't like, 10 versions of Tifa's theme. I believe there's only 2 times it plays in the entire soundtrack. And I mean 2 different versions, excuse me. The one being her theme that plays in the bar, and then the one that plays in the ending cutscene. There's a nice little progression from Aerith's theme, Tifa's theme, and the main theme. This is one of the actual examples of Nobu using the main theme of Final Fantasy VII in multiple ways. This, of course, being On That Day 5 years ago. And the original soundtrack, it's called Just Another Job, this version of it. But, he did do it. It's just he didn't have the space. He didn't have the technology to do it, right? There's only so many songs you can fit. So he can't have 20 iterations of Tifa's theme. It's not possible, even though it is an 80-hour game. I keep putting myself in the shoes of a new player. And that's so significant because, like, when you watch Star Wars, it's probably subconscious, right? When you first watch it the first time, you're probably not registering, like, okay, this is the Force theme, this is Darth Vader's theme, Anakin's theme, this is Han Solo and the princess's love theme. You probably don't register instantly every single one. What happens is it's a sub, unless you're a lunatic like me and you look for those things now, building up that musical language. So like when the soundtrack pushes for new ground, and what I mean like these new epic songs, it does it in a very comforting way, in a very not jarring way. And how does it do that? Listen here, we have Tifa's theme. It's such a faithful representation of Tifa's theme, even though it's a very different arrangement. Incredibly different. This is something I was thinking about for years. Like, what are they going to do with this song? Because, it's very like, it's played on tuned percussion in the original. One of the musical threads to the entire soundtrack is like the vibraphone. So they did sacrifice that, but they sacrificed it, for the greater good, to reach that Hollywood feel. So sacrifice I will take, even though it did lose a lot of the feel of the original. It's understandable. So something regarding themes. Does anyone notice that Cloud doesn't actually have a theme? Yeah, for me, Karuto, I always thought that it was Anxious Heart. But you have a good point too. It's really cool. Yeah, I mean, Cloud doesn't really have an identity. But that's why I always kind of thought Anxious Heart fit for him. But it could also be argued that the main theme is just Cloud's theme. Also, Anxious Heart is part of the main theme. It dawned on me the other day. That really slow, foreboding part of the main theme has some of the note progression of Anxious Heart near the end. And I was like, oh! I don't know why. It's the first time I've ever realized that. This arrangement is incredibly different. It retains so much of the feeling. Passes in your brain. Because we never heard this with instruments. But there is the flute in there, which it was definitely supposed to be a flute or something like that. The tune percussion's gone completely, but they come back to that with the sort of electric piano in the other version, so they do pay homage to it. So then they give us the sauce like this. They just unload it all over us, man. Listen to this. Incredible. Ignition Flame. The cool thing about this song is you realize right here, it's the 98th version of the battle theme, and it's amazing. I would argue this is maybe the most, Hollywood song on the entire soundtrack. It's not something out of The Matrix. What I'm saying is they tether us back, man. They anchor us. They tether you with that battle theme being thrown in there. It's like, oh yeah, this is Final Fantasy VII still. And that's what's so good is they take that extra care, like I said, not to just flex all over us and be like, oh, look at me. I'm an awesome musician. They still take that time to anchor you back and be like, hey, this is a part of a universe that exists. Let's reference those melodies with a reference to an old song. So now we're going to look at the opposite, okay? We're going to look at one of, I know, everybody's personal favorite, and I can't stop listening to this freaking song. Smash 'em, rip 'em. What is this? What are we dealing with here? Oh, it's Tifa's theme. Of course it's Tifa's theme, because it's in this game 90,000 times, right? It's just so nice. And it's such a beautiful, happy, fun, dance-worthy song, but it also makes perfect sense with what's happening in the scene, right? And again, this is one of those moments where I realized, oh, this game is ascending. It's going so far. Because now we've even gone beyond the Hollywood thing because it's a video game, right? It's transcended that. And there's just so, it's an 80-hour, whatever. For me, it was a 60-hour game. Not only several versions of this song that are filmic, let's bring in this totally fun electronic version that's just so awesome and so hype. You have the operatic feel for the more classically filmic moments, and there's a super fun, wacky scene where you get smash and rip them. Holding our hand and kind of like easing us into the new stuff and just making it so enjoyable. Like I said before, this scene. Sorry, I got excited looking at that. It's tethering us to the old, right? It's tethering us to our memories, and it's glorious. I talked about this point a little bit, and I think you guys kind of agree with me, kind of didn't agree with me, and feel free to disagree with me here too on this. So the only weakness I had when I was first listening to this was there's so many new songs, and the game is so much bigger now, that if you look back to the original game, it's so rudimentary. Whenever you see anybody from Shinra on the screen, Shinra's theme plays. Every time. Especially the president, whoever it is. Like, you hear Shinra's theme for like hours upon hours on loop by the time the game's over. The battle theme. You hear that damn song for hours and hours, and probably the most out of anything, right? Victory theme. Tifa theme. Barrett theme. Gold Saucer, you name it. It is so beaten into your brain. Like, it has the Star Wars effect, even though it's an 80-hour game, right? Like, what the main theme of Final Fantasy VII is from being on the world map, right? Like, you have no doubt in your mind what it is. And the reason I'm saying it like that is because this game is so grandiose and it's so big. There's the Turks theme is another good example. There's so many different scenes with the Shinra and the Turks theme, and they blend the Shinra and the Turks theme in the battle scenes, that I initially had this feeling, it's like, man, a little bit of that is going to be lost. Like, is this going to be a weakness for the soundtrack? Because you're not going to have as recognizable songs, because it's just so padded with so many epic, beautiful new songs, which is good, like it should be, right? But, with the inclusion of amazing new pieces, let's go to a new one, for example. The main thing that made me realize this was Anxious Heart, right? Anxious Heart is like the lifeblood of that original game. Every scene where there's downtime, mysterious, kind of like scene where Cloud's kind of struggling or sitting there, just walking around town, it's Anxious Heart that plays so many freaking times, man. Hours and hours and hours of Anxious Hearts. That song is so important to the game. In the remake, it plays for maybe 5 minutes if you take your time walking around town. Look at the disproportionate percentage now of those iconic theme uses. It's not a bad thing, it's just an observation. But then, as I thought about it more, I realized it's like, will you lose a lot of that identity? Like I just said, when you hear Darth Vader's theme, you know he's coming before you even see him in Star Wars, right? It's so great. His character theme so strong. The Force theme, like when you hear the Force theme in Star Wars, also known as Binary Sunset, you know that like something is about to have something spiritual. So I said, will you lose some of that? And you do. Like, there's no question. Like, you do lose it. There's no question there, just because of the percentage of use of songs like Anxious Heart, right? But you gain, just like I said before, right? When you also lose the original instrumentation of the tune percussion, which they use so much in the original, it's amazing, actually. You gain this filmic quality. There's such a robust library of songs in this game that it's ridiculous. Like, I can't even think of all of them off the top of my head. Just the new songs. That's why I had to write them down on this list, like, to go over them. It's insane. Not a weakness, it's just a difference, right? It's you lose some, but then you gain more. It's kind of like sacrificing something for the greater good. Oh yes, right here, the Valkyrie. So when we look at these new age songs, we have Valkyrie, Tightrope, Fires of Resistance, Rufus Shinra. These songs are just so insanely Hollywood. They're so powerful. They're so different than anything we've ever heard, even close to what we've heard in FF7. Not to say it's better or worse, it's a tone that we don't get, right? It's a tone we do not get. I mean, listen to this. This song, Valkyrie, I was joking with my friend about this. It's like much better than most like main themes of like films and shows that are composed. It's so incredible. And it's a throwaway song that plays during one cool sequence in the game. This isn't even like a theme of anything, guys. It's not even a leitmotif. It's just a song that gets thrown out there for an epic moment. Like, think about that. Like, does anybody watch My Hero Academia? It's like pretty much the main theme of My Hero Academia is You Say Run. You guys know that song? And it's the main theme of the freaking show, and it's the main character thing. Like, this is a throwaway song, the Valkyrie, that just doesn't exist beyond the scene. And I'm hearing it, I'm just like, how is this possible that they just essentially crapped out another, like, best song ever for this scene? That's what I'm saying. So this is the final, like, new age we get from this game. From my last point that could have been misconstrued as a weakness, then we think of songs like Valkyrie, and I go, oh, well, forget that, because yes, this is just, listen to it. Like the most epic. But what I'm saying is, like, this is a sort of theme that would be the main theme of a film, and then would come back throughout the whole film. So that's that. But yeah, those are my main things. And of course, we're gonna end with what has become probably my favorite song on the soundtrack, Rufus Shinra. Listen to this song. Like, you gotta be kidding me. It has no business being this good. And what they do is, this is why this song for me is like the culmination of that Hollywood feel, is you have here the boss theme, Those Who Fight Further, mixed with mixed with the Shinra theme. Tempo changes in this song. It's incredible. Absolutely incredible. And then we're looking at a scene, of course, where Tifa's theme comes back into it. To me, it's just the culmination of that feeling that they're going for, of a complete, fully choreographed soundtrack that goes far beyond, you know, like we said in the originals. Oh, yeah, there's one version of Shinra's theme, there's one version of Tifa's theme, there's one version of Barrett, etc. And it's just going to be so good. You like Rufus's song, Phil. I guess that means it owns you. Wow, that's true. This is so dirty, it needs a shower more than Tifa. Damn, that's true. None of this is on the OST. Here we go. 0. Speech volume. 0. I think we should be good, guys. So first off, those chosen by the planet, okay? Count it up. I want you to count it up in the chat. Start writing it. Wait, okay, that was One Winged Angel. It's a totally new section right now. Oh, is it a variation of the Whispers theme, you think? Okay, those chosen by the planet, One Winged Angel. Definitely Crystal. Okay, good. So this is a new theme. Second new theme. First one was when the Whispers showed up. Totally new theme. This is a Zack theme or something we've never heard. Gongaga. Mr. Gongaga appears. Okay, Shinra theme. Count it. Shinra theme. Write it down. This is Gongaga. Could be a Zack theme. Yes. This is Shinra. I'm telling you, this is like the best song in the whole game. How many minutes have gone by? I don't even know. This is a long song, guys. Yeah, 4 to 5 already. We ain't done. Okay, so that was very Shinra heavy. But there's 2 new themes already. We don't even know. But you see what I mean? It's so filmic. Back to those shows by the planet. A slower tempo. Spaced out. Yep, variant. Zack had no material, yeah, that's why he lost, man. He needed that Knights of the Round mime. Okay, listen. I think it's a variation of Aerith, but maybe. It's just new. Oh, there's Aerith, yep. Okay, write it down. Write them in the chat. Yep. How dare they not put this on the soundtrack? How many minutes have gone by already, too? That's what I'm saying. So good. It's so good, Crystal. I know, like Aerith's theme. It's a great version. But it's like a dire Aerith's theme in a different key. Okay, listen. Opening theme of Ff7. There's another one. Write it down. Ba-da-da. Yep. Now this is a variation of the opening theme right here. The 3 notes. Yep, opening volume mission, exactly. You guys, listen to this. So why is this so important though? What did I say about that filmic feel? They're now weaving in everything they've built up throughout the entire game into the finale And just this glorious, glorious piece of music contains everything, man. Listen, it's changing. Okay, so that's great. I love the percussion too. The main theme. Main theme. And that's it. That's where it cuts off. All right, everybody. So those are my thoughts on the music from FF7 Remake. Let me know what you thought in the comments. We've been voting over here on Twitch, so make sure to come over and join us to chat live. It's going to be a lot of fun. And as always, subscribe if you're new, and make sure to check out my main channel if you want to learn how to fight like Tifa. Thank you so much, everybody, for the support tonight. For the raid from Crystal. All right, guys. Have a good night. Hop in Discord if you need me. I'll see you guys in Midgar. Dream big.